friends, it's Michelle from Little Farm in the Valley. It is actually quite warm out here. It's December of all the things, and I don't know what it feels like, September. So I'm gonna go find the goat to put her out to graze on the grass since there's no snow. It is quite weird that it's December and it looks like, I don't know, September. So there's lots of grass out here that the goat can be grazing on. And instead she's in here where there's just pretty much weeds left. So I'm gonna catch her and put her out to graze. So it looks like she's finally heading my way. Anyway, once I get her caught, I'm gonna go back to the house. Can you see that green grass? That's amazing. It's December. I don't know if we're gonna have a white Christmas. There's little patches of snow, but it's just so warm. Anyway, I'm gonna head back to the house after I get her caught. And today we're gonna do another Christmas baking video. Today I'm going to do my peanut butter chocolate balls and my Rice Krispie caramel marshmallow balls. There's also supposed to be some pigs down here, but I don't even see the pigs. Must be so warm, everybody's just lying around. Come on, Ingrid. Let's go. She's not a fan of the dogs, so she always acts up when the dogs are here. Finally got Ingrid caught, so she gets to eat grass for the rest of the day. So we're going to start by making our Rice Krispie marshmallow balls. So first we're going to make the caramel sauce, and I have a very easy caramel recipe where I just take equal parts butter, brown sugar, and heavy cream and melt it together and cook it in a saucepan. So that's what we're going to start with. We are going to make our caramel. You could also, of course, use the caramel candy and melt them. But this is so easy that this is what I usually do. So now we'll just let it cook and stir it. The important thing with caramel is obviously to stir it and not let it burn on the bottom. So don't walk too far away from this. Starting to melt down quite nicely. So we'll just keep stirring. So if you're going to make this caramel at home, just be prepared for how much it will rise up out of the pan once it comes to a boil. I hadn't made it in a while, so I was a little unprepared, but luckily I was standing right next to it, so I had to quick dump it into a bigger saucepan. So use a little bit of a bigger saucepan than you think you'll need. Once it comes to this point where it starts to bubble, you're just going to periodically stir it and just let it keep bubbling until it thickens. This can take maybe 15 minutes. So when your caramel starts to kind of slowly make these bubbles of kind of like little circles appearing, and it's not as rapidly boiling, it'll kind of slow down and thicken. That's when you can turn it off and remove it from the heat. So our caramel is cooling on a hot pad. You don't want it to start hardening on you, so kind of get to the next step as soon as possible. So we're going to get our marshmallows. These are the bigger ones, but these aren't like the giant roasting marshmallows. They're just the regular bigger marshmallows. So we're going to dip them in the caramel. I already burned myself. Very carefully dip them in the caramel. And then move on to the Rice Krispies and coat them. I think for now I'll leave them on the toothpick. And then I have a tray here waiting to lay them on there. So that's going to be the process. And I'm going to try and act as fast as I can before my caramel hardens. Of course, you could always put it on the stove another couple seconds, but let's do this. So here's my Rice Krispie balls. My last tray, I think it's this one. These got a little bit messy because my Rice Krispies were starting to kind of be full of caramel. But that recipe of the 1 cup sugar and butter and heavy cream, that made about 55. I think I counted about 55. So that was fairly easy. And now we'll refrigerate these for a while so the caramel can harden a little bit. These are one of my favorite Christmas treats. So we're gonna move on to our peanut butter balls. I have 3½ cups of powdered sugar. I'm going to add 1½ cups of peanut butter. Eyeball another ½ cup. Maybe a little bit more. So our next ingredient is cream cheese, and I'm going to use my homemade cream cheese. It says 4 ounces. I would say that's most of it. So I added 1/2 cup of butter. Now I'm going to add a teaspoon vanilla extract and a pinch of salt. So now we're going to mix this. The recipe says the easiest thing to do is to use your hands. So I'll get this all mixed up, and then we refrigerate it for a while to let it harden before we continue working with it. So I've taken the filling out of the refrigerator. Everything seems to have incorporated pretty well, except for that cream cheese that was frozen. So now I'm going to make little balls with my smallest scoop, and then when we're done, we're going to pop them in the freezer for at least an hour. You can do more if you want. And then comes the fun part of dipping them into the melted chocolate. I can see the little chunks of cream cheese, but that's probably going to be extra delicious to bite into a chunk of cream cheese, right? So I have my chocolate bars melting. I have dark chocolate bars and they're melting on the stove in a double boiler. You could also do this in the microwave, but I'm going with the double boiler today. So once this is all melted down, I'm gonna start dipping my, I brought one plate out of the freezer, so I'll start with one. So our chocolate is pretty well melted. A couple more big chunks, but I think I can get started. So that's basically what I'm going to do over and over and over. And once I have my plate filled, I'm actually going to pop them back in the freezer. And then once they're frozen, I think I'm going to go over them with just a milk chocolate drizzle and some sea salt. And that's completely optional. It would definitely be good enough at this point, but just an extra step I thought I would take. So with my leftover dark chocolate, I'm gonna pour in some macadamia nuts and make chocolate covered nuts. Sometimes I do peanut clusters, but this is what I happen to have. So I'll just do these. Pour in a bunch more. So this is kind of going to be like a chocolate peanut cluster. I'll throw those in the freezer as well, and then when they're frozen, I'll break them into smaller chunks, and we will clean up our leftover chocolate like that. I was actually 110% sure I had sea salt. And of course, now that I go to drizzling these, I cannot find my sea salt. So I'm going to use my Redmond real salt. And I guess I should put it on there before my chocolate dries. I did the first couple just with a fork and I didn't quite like it. So I decided to use a piping bag for my drizzle. It's a little bit extra, but oh well. It'll work while my chocolate is soft. So I'm gonna have to really hurry. Grab the next plate from the freezer.
So then, why?
So I think just to empty my bag and use up my chocolate, I will just come across and drizzle the other way now. This actually would have been really pretty with white chocolate too, but I guess I didn't think of that. But this is fine. So there's our Rice Krispie marshmallow caramels and our peanut butter chocolate balls. I'm getting them packed in my Christmas boxes. I'll probably be storing them in the freezer or the refrigerator just because they're kind of extra good when they're cold. So anyway guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a video. We will talk to you soon.